Well, I just want to first introduce myself. My name is Chris Ulmer. I'm the long-range planner with the City of Vernon. And I want to welcome you all and thank you all for taking the time to come out here tonight. We've got a great presentation for you. Just a couple of housekeeping items for those of you who may need to use the washroom at some point. They are just behind us in the hallway here. And I would ask that if you have a cell phone, which typically is everyone these days, I would ask that you put it in silent for the presentation. What we have here tonight is a presentation and part of the City Center neighborhood plan process. Many of you participated in the earlier public consultation that we did as part of the plan. One of the key directions that came out of that preliminary consultation was an emphasis on improving accessibility for all residents within the downtown area, city center area, and creating more walkable. This led us essentially to Dan Burton. Dan is the authority on walkable communities. He has more than 35 years of experience in helping to create better towns, better cities through a focus on designing communities for the people instead of the car. He co-founded Walkable Communities in 1996 and started the Walkable and Livable Communities Institute in 2009. Through these organizations, he's helped over 2,700 communities throughout the world become healthier and more valuable places to live by improving the way we design our streets and what is built around us. His efforts to get the world walking again earned him the first ever Lifetime Achievement Award issued by the Partners for Smart Growth and the Association of Pedestrian and Bicycle Professionals. In 2001, Dan was named by Time magazine as one of the 6 most important civic innovators in the world. And he's recently been featured in Newsweek, Best Life magazine, and Reader's Digest as he continues to help communities become better places to live. We're very fortunate to have this opportunity to work with Dan. I know that there are a number of other conflicting events here tonight, so we are going to be videotaping this. We feel that this is a very important part of our neighborhood plan process, and we want to ensure that as many people have the opportunity to view Dan's presentation as possible. So this is going to be videotaped, and at the end of the presentation, we'll provide the link to our website. And once we have the video up and running, we'll run another advertisement letting people know where to find it and when it's up. So Dan, through the presentation, we just ask that you hold your questions through to the end. If you have, Dan will be more than happy to field some questions at the end of the presentation. So please hold those to the end. So now for what you came to see, I will turn Dan, so please join me in welcoming Mr. Dan.
Thank you, Chris, and good evening, Vernon. I'm very delighted to be able to come to your community and have several days to, first of all, get to meet maybe a fourth of the people in the audience, or many of you I have not met yet, so tonight's the night. What I am about to introduce is really one of the most profound periods of change to occur in not only our lifetime, but the lifetime of many generations. We have been focused on building our cities for our automobiles for over 70 years. And it is leading us to the brink of what I'll just refer to as a civilization as it used to be known, and has taken away a lot that I hope that in my presentation I can share with you, that as easily as we lost it, we can also get it back. And if the poignancy and the importance of this presentation doesn't make all the sense in the world at the beginning, I think it will as we get on into the presentation. I'll start with the point of emphasis of why bother, and get to the point of, oh my gosh, is this serious? How do we now bring about the change that we need? So everything that we did to just build whatever we built without a lot of place or meaning, we are now learning the importance of a street for the future to relate to the human eye, to the human heart, to the human sensibility. And that includes not only the journey to school, but where we're going to build new housing. It also relates to our town centers. This presentation is focused on the city center, and we've had a number of people join us for our walk which was 2 days ago. Thank you for arranging such great weather. And as I understand it, the weather is like that all the time. Is that correct? All the time. But I think it's also important to point that we were able to meet with a lot of your senior staff and elected leaders, individually with folks that represent the downtown merchants. And this is our study area. And it is my recommendation always to start with your heart, which is exactly what you're doing. Come back to the center. Once you save the center, you can start to work on areas further out. Indeed, if you skip the center and start working on the edges, you really aren't going to get enough energy, I like to say, to make things work. So it's very good that you're focusing on that. And for people who live further out or have employment further out that say, well, when will it be our turn? Only once you get a thriving town center. You have to have that before you can capture the other area. So just to give you some boundaries, 30th Avenue, which is a marvelous act of love in the works. But this is really what I'm fearful of. Not that I'll see it here, but that if all we did is pamper to our traffic, then this would be what we do leave behind. But you're partway there. This was my first vision of Vernon coming into town. And it is not a pretty picture. And as we get into the presentation, I think you're going to see that over time you can heal the damage that you have done to yourselves, but you cannot continue to have a canyon running through the center of your town and have the town take on all of the meaning that it would or could have in time. And this is basically what we're saying, is that we're making a shift from where we used to build communities through transportation, and now we're going to not build transportation through communities any longer. We're going to build real hearts, real centers, and streets will be converted. And this is the reason why. Anything we do to build for maximum enjoyment of driving ends up to be an economic disaster. We can't even maintain it. It's unsightly. It turns people away. But anything we build for the human footprint makes oodles of money, and you can't keep people away, and it's that different. And I think it's important too to understand that when we try to maintain that which we have built that is only for the car, that we are not going to be able to keep up with those costs unless we have a lot of areas making really good money that we can offset the costs of maintaining those areas that are only working for the car. The good news is you've been delving into the future for a long time. These are all photos that I took in the last 2 days. I feel out of the 2,700 communities I've worked in, you have the absolute very best connection for senior living to a town center that I've come across up until now. That is quite an achievement. And I think you know where your points of success are, how you're serving yourselves, the public, starting to make inroads. And I don't want to say you're anywhere nor toward the middle of your journey, but inroads to making walking, bicycling, and other modes of transportation that are active transportation successful. But you've only scratched the surface, and that's what we're going to talk about tonight. What are the next steps? How do you take those steps? So as an example, this is essentially 5 lanes of road. It is a huge amount of physical space, and yet look what we've left for the pedestrian. It is very sad that only 800 cars in the peak hour move up and down this road. That would be 8,000 cars a day. You can carry 8,000 cars in 1 lane. Why do you have 5? And I think that's my point. Don't build things bigger, fatter, wider than you need to in the future. These are all now available for transformation. So the first thing I like to introduce is some kind of way of measuring our success. In the past, we've always measured our success by how many cars we move, how fast we move them, how little delay the cars have. End of measurement. In the future, we will measure how long people linger, whether we see children, whether we see seniors in a part of a community, whether we see all people walking the streets in the evening hours, not just a few. And so I'm going to start with a premise based on a Cherokee Indian story that what you're going to end up having 10 years from now or 20 years from now, it's whichever wolf you feed. And if you continue to feed the wolf that you have been feeding, you will end up with more of that. If you now start to feed the other wolf and feed it profoundly, something you've already started to do a little bit, then you are going to end up with one of the most drop-dead gorgeous, fantastic places to live in the world. So this is what I would measure. The day I took this photograph, I took 5 different weddings, all by bicycle, in Vancouver. I've done the same thing in San Francisco. So as soon as I can come to your community and see people heading off on their wedding on a bicycle, I'd say you're just about there. And likewise, to celebrate your seniors, that you make these connections and you make them pleasant, and that you not see this anymore. This was taken about 3 hours ago. And it's a frightening aspect that we built the road so wide that children are running without their shoes tied across your streets right in front of a school bus. Or this scene, and I think some of you know this street. This is Husband. Does anybody know where that street's located? Husband? Yeah. Is it outside of your community? Okay, somebody else is okay. But the point is, you can probably top this. Again, the road is wide, the speeds are high. Where does a person walk? Where are the sidewalks? Why are we not doing more? I also want to make sure we focus on the aesthetic qualities, what I refer to as placemaking. Right now, you've got a lot of gray matter that in the end, you're going to want to camouflage. And you've got a lot of it. And you've got very marginal space for people to walk, and no time for people to stop and spend time and chat and enjoy themselves. Now, I'm only going to show you one street from Victoria, and I purposely chose one that is not their top street. But it's a good street, and it does the same work for the automobile as the ones you've been looking at. It just does it better, and it does it with a little bit of aesthetic. And I would say this street is in transformation. In time, it's going to have a stronger sense of enclosure and more color, more pageantry. And that's what we work at. So let's just take 2 people I was able to capture walking down the street. And we'll just call them Gary and Richard. Is that a good set of names to call them? Yeah, let's call them Gary and Richard. And do you think they're comfortable? Are they happy where they're walking? So what should we give them? How about something like this? Yeah, I think they're happier. But can we do better? Yeah, stronger edge, a little more canopy, a better defined walkway. Can we do better? Oh my gosh, yes we can. We can make the sidewalk a little wider, and we can green up the edges a little bit, and we can give them a more environmentally friendly green. We can give them a little more complexity. Each one of these, what I like to say, is a very different place. It's its own character, its own place. And in time, each of your blocks, each of your streets will determine its own character and its own sense of place.